Hi everyone, this is Ida with Created to Create. If you are under the age of 18 years old, this video content is not intended for you. For those of you that are, I have a project share that I want to share with you. You all know that I have been working on some cards that I am calling Sow A Seed cards, and what that is greeting cards that have scripture in them for different occasions. And I want to share one with you today, and hopefully a process video. If we can do it fast enough that my phone doesn't cut off, because sometimes it tends to do that, I will do it. I have everything pre-cut, but I'm going to share the card with you first. This is the card that I created, and this is the new embossing folder that I bought by Crafter's Companion, the dress form that I just shared on my previous video on a haul. And I love the way it came out. I love the fact that it cuts out the dress form completely, but on the butterflies it just cuts out the edges and the center of the butterfly stays intact. So it stays on the card, but it is dimensional, and I absolutely love the way it came out. This friend word was a gift from Angie Newland here on YouTube. I can't remember what her channel name. It might be Gathering Jewels, but I'll check for sure. And anyway, I hadn't used the die. She was in the Not So Secret Santa swap, and she gifted this die to me, and it is beautiful. Worked perfectly for this project. These blings right here were also gifts from the Not So Secret Santa, or from my friend Sonia, or Carolyn, who is Tea Time and Dolls, because I don't put names on everything, and I'm just starting to do that because I realize that I can't remember everything someone has gifted me. So anyway, I'm going to bring it up some. Hopefully, I think you can see all the embossing going on. And then it's got like a doily back here. Then it had the dress form, but the dress cuts out completely. And like I said, the butterflies stay intact. I added a little scroll piece from hot off the press. That was a gift from my friend Carolyn, who is Tea Time and Dolls. And so were this flower right here came from that same set. But I love the way this came out now. I used a Tonic Studio pearl paper on the top here, so it's pearlized pink. And then the second layer that I did is the 110-pound cardstock in the black. And then I added some black foam, because the foam comes in different colors to give it dimension, because I didn't want it to be real flat, but I didn't want it to be very dimensional, just a little bit. So I put that underneath to give it a little bit of dimension. And then I didn't know what I wanted to do with the base, the actual card, because I wanted to stick with just blacks and pinks. So what I decided to do is go with a lighter shade of pink, and then I stamped in black all the way around the perimeter of it, so it would look like script writing behind that, and the black stands out beautifully against the pink back here. So right here I added some seed beads that are size of 6/0 beads for the body of the butterflies, and then some black stamens that I used right here. This piece of lace that I did the dress form was also from the Not So Secret Santa swap, and I just kind of covered the dress form in that, and kind of pleated this on the bottom to give it a little ruffle effect on the bottom. And I love the way it came out. And the inside is plain. I didn't do anything the back. And then on the inside, here is the scripture that I decided to go, because it's for a friend. The scripture that I chose was, I thank my God upon every remembrance of you. And that's Philippians 1:3. And to tie it all in together, because I did a white on the inside, I did the butterfly. This is a Tim Holtz butterfly in the pearl pink and the black. And I love the way it looks. And that's why I call these cards Sow A Seed, because whenever you're speaking to someone about the Lord, well, what you're doing is you're sowing seeds, you're planting seeds. So that's why I call them this. And for every occasion, whether this would be good for a bridal shower, because if you were going to somebody's bridal shower, obviously she would be your friend. So this can be a friend just because. This can be for a bride. It can say bride on here, or this can be a Mother's Day card if your mother is your friend. Sometimes, our mothers are probably our best friends. Like I said, it can be used for many a birthday card for any occasion. So that's why the sentiment is more geared towards friendship, no matter what the occasion, and not an occasion, but you know the fact that you're friends. So this is what I created, and I'm going to share with you everything that I used to create this, and last but not least, I wanted to make a pretty presentation. So I bought these acetate boxes on Amazon, and I'm sorry for the glare. I'm going to go ahead and put the card in there. But these are for cards as well. And because these are not flat, you have to put them in a box. So this is what I decided to house my cards in, and they look beautiful in there. Just go ahead and slide it in there so you can see, and it fits perfectly. And actually this card is a little bit bigger than, I think it's an A7, because this one, an A7, I think is a 5x7. This one measures 5 1/4 by 7. Let me go ahead and close it up. But I love the way it looks in the box. Whoops. So there it is in the box. Look how pretty that is if you were to gift this card to someone. Now, if some of you went to my Etsy shop, because these are going to be available for those of you that don't craft, or you're limited and you don't have the tools or whatever, they will be available for purchase. And for those of you who want to create them yourselves, well, I'll share that with you as well. But the reason these are a little high is because of the shipping. You cannot ship anything for under $7-8. Even if I put this has to go in a bubble mailer, so that's why. And but anyway, I really love the way these came out, and like I said, if you have all the tools, you can make them yourself. So let me share with you what I used to create this. I'm going to move it aside. One of the things that I used, you know what, let's just start layering, and as I'm showing you, I'm sharing with you different things that I did, and when I incorporate the different item and I used a die or something to create it, then I'll share that with you. The first thing that I did is I cut a piece of pink 110-pound cardstock, and this is the one that we get from Michael's that comes in assorted colors. That's what this is, and I cut it down to a 10.5 on the long side, and on the shorter side, on the 8-inch side, I cut it down to 7 1/4. And then I scored it down the middle. On the 10.5 side, I scored it at 5 1/4, and that gave me my card base, which measures 5 1/4 by 7 1/4. If you want to make it a 5x7, you can do that as well. They'll fit perfectly in the box, but you'll have a little extra on the top and bottom. I kind of like it to fit completely in the box, so that's why I gave mine a 1/4 of an inch more on the side, and also in the width. But because it's two sides on the width, the front and the back, I had to add a 1/2 inch instead of a 1/4 of an inch. So anyway, that's what I started out with. Now I'm going to move that aside. Second, I cut out after I had done that, I used a stamp that I'm not sure if it's going to be available. I'm going to share it with you, and I'm going to put it on this pink. Hopefully you'll be able to see it. The paper's really warped that it came on because I bought these a while back from AliExpress, and they were really stuck. I had a hard time taking them off. But the only thing I really wanted to use was the script right here, because that's what I did my background with. So any background script or scroll work or whatever type of background die you want to use, that will work. I'm just sharing with you the one that I used, and that's what I did, the script. And before I folded it, I left it open like this. I used a scrap piece of paper, and I put it along the edge where the score line is, and then I stamped. That way it wouldn't go over to my back side of my card. Then I would move it down and stamp again, and I did that all the way to the bottom. And it doesn't matter if the stamping is not dark in the center, because you're not going to see that. My main goal was for you to be able to see the script on the edges around the perimeter of the front of the card. So that's how I did that, and I'm sure I don't have to walk you through that, but this is pretty much what it is. It's a script stamp, and I just print it all the way around. That's all I did there, so I don't have to show you that step. So this is my base, and I had scored it at 5 1/4 on the 10.5 inch length, 5 1/4. That gave me my base. And I went ahead and burnished the fold with my bone folder. And then the next step, I'm going to move this aside. My next step was to cut my dress form. Here is what the dress form looks like, and this is in a pearl pink, and I'm going to share with you the one that I used. If any of these products are available on Amazon, I will list them. I picked up mine. I happened to find them at Tuesday morning, but there are no guarantees that we can find them at Tuesday morning, so I always like to link if I can find them on Amazon. So this is the one I used. It's the So Lovely, and then it's called Sewn with Love by Sara Davies. Of course, this is a Crafter's Companion die, and this is a 5x7 embossing folder. But what I did was, for a 5x7 card, I measured from side to side, and it measures 4 3/4, and then from the top to the bottom, and that measured 6 1/4, and that's what size I cut my panel. So it was 4 3/4 by 6 3/4, and it fit perfectly in here. I wanted to make sure I got all the design in. I didn't want anything sticking out to the sides or to the bottom or anything like that. I wanted it to fit perfectly here. So this is the one that I used. So I'm going to move that aside. And I cut my piece out, and this is what it looks like when it's cut out. But the dress form, see the center right there? That cuts out. So this is what it looks like when you take that out. And then the wings, of course, are loose up here. See, these have, they're attached at the center, but you can pop them up. So that's what I did. And I'm going to move this one aside because I already have mine. So you need this panel. Again, it's 4 3/4 by 6 3/4. And you're going to cut one of those. And then you're going to get a piece of 110-pound cardstock, and you're going to cut that to a little bit bigger than this, depending on how much you want around the perimeter. I didn't want that much. So what I did was I cut it a little bit past, like 2/8 of an inch, about 1/8 of an inch bigger. No, I'm going to say about 2/8 of an inch. Not quite the 1/4 inch, but in between, right before I got to the 1/4 inch, right before I got to 5 inches on the width, that's where I cut this. And the same thing on the length, right before I got to the 6 inches. Remember, this was 5 3/4. It was right under the 6 inch. I'm sorry, the 7 inch mark, and because I only wanted like 1/8 of an inch perimeter around my card. So again, this was cut at 4 3/4 by 6 3/4. This one was cut right underneath the 5 inch width, and then it was cut in the length right under the 7 inch mark. So that's what gave me this very narrow perimeter, and I love the way that looks. So that's all we will need. And another thing for dimension, you can either use chipboard, foam board, foam cord board, or the foam sheets. I'm using a black foam sheet because they come in a variety of colors. So that's what I'm going to use. And let's go ahead and put it together. After I had printed out my piece, I went ahead and mounted the black cardstock on top of this. This one, I cut it shorter. I cut it almost the size of the dress form piece, right under this size, because I didn't want it really to show. So that's what I did, and we're going to go ahead and mount that here. And what I'm going to use is going to be the Fabric Tack by Beacon, or you can use the Beacon 3-in-1 or Aleene's fabric glue, whatever you want to use. This is what I use, and it works for me. And I'm just going to add the glue. What I like about this glue is that it doesn't warp my paper. So that's what I like about it. So I'm going to add the glue here. And I'm not going to add too much because it looks like a lot, but I'm actually just rubbing it against the foam, just kind of to smear it. So I'm going to go ahead and mount this. And because it's that, whoops, it's that glue, that gel looking glue, you actually have a minute to be able to slide your piece and make sure it's exactly the way you want it. I'm going to use my little bone folder and kind of burnish it. This is the one I picked up from Tuesday Morning. It's the perfect size for a card. So there's that. Here is the panel with the foam underneath. Now, what I'm going to do next is I'm going to mount the dress form piece. I do this piece before I put it on the actual base of the card. Now we're going to do this piece, and I'm going to put it flat, guys. Completely flat. There's not going to be any dimension in here. If you wanted more dimension, you could actually put the piece of foam or a piece of foam cardboard paper in your embossing folder, and it will cut it. And you do it the same way on your machine as you would a regular embossing folder. That's what I do. That's what works for me. So I'm going to go ahead and glue this down again with the same glue because it's pearlized. So let's go ahead and do that. And I'll go around the perimeter first. And when you glue this down, remember not to add glue to the wings on the butterfly because you want them to, you want to be able to open those up. You can do glue down the center and in between the butterflies, but not on the butterflies. Maybe a little right there. And that's all I need. Let me move this aside. Again, because it has gel, I will be able to move it around, but I try to do my best to place it right where I need it. That way no extra glue is showing. That looks pretty good. Yeah, that looks really good actually. And it's kind of slippery because of the glue, but I think that's a good thing. Okay. And this I'm just gonna kind of smash down. I'm not going to rub it with my bone folder because I already embossed it and I don't want to smash that down. Okay, so here is my top panel. These are so easy to put together, guys. Anybody can do them. My cards are only for people who don't craft or who don't have like all the tools and you really want to. There's some times that we really want something, so I'm doing it so it'll be available for them also to supplement or to help me with my hobby because I love to craft and we all know that gets pretty expensive. So okay, there it is. Even if you wanted to leave it like that, that would be a pretty card front. You wouldn't even have to add the top, but I'm going to add the top. So I'm going to move this aside. No, I'm not. I'm going to go ahead and take this piece and we're going to mount our card on top of that. And again, I'm going to use the same glue because if it were paper to paper, I would use the regular glue. But because it's the foam to the paper, I'm going to use this glue. So I'm going to add glue all the way around the perimeter before I add my finishing touches on the front of my card base. And I'm going to go ahead and do this. Move this out of the way. And again, I'm going to center this where I want it to go. And because it's that beacon glue, you still have a little wiggle room to move it around if you need to. That looks pretty good as far as I'm concerned. And I'm just going to just push it down because I don't want to ruin the embossing that I have on the front of the card. Look at how pretty that looks already, and we really haven't done anything to it, just layer paper on top of paper. So there it is, and you can do these in any colors that you want. Pink and a chocolate brown would be very, very pretty as well, and a pink and a gray would be pretty, a pink and a white and a black. So there's that. Now, I'm going to move this aside. Here's the bodice of my doll. And what I did with the bodice, I'm going to show you with my other piece. Let me take it off of the card, actually. So this cuts out completely. So you take this off. And the lace that I used was gifted during the Not So Secret Santa swap. It's this one here. I don't remember who gifted this, but it's beautiful. And all I did was, I'm not gonna glue this one down because mine's already glued. I left a little bit on top and a little bit on the bottom, and not too much, just enough to cover that piece. So I just cut a little piece off for the bodice. And then what I did, I cut off this piece right here. So I took my scissors, but you know, depending on, you're not going to do the same thing I'm going to do, because if you don't have this exact lace, then you wouldn't be able to do this. I'm just showing you what I did, and if you find lace similar to this in any color, will work. So all I did was, and I'm going to do the front just so you'll see what I did to keep it where I wanted it. Because I wanted these holes in the middle to be right in the center, I went ahead and added some of my beacon glue, and I just smeared it, guys, so lightly that it's not even a big deal. Like, it's not a bunch, because I don't want it to show through. And I got my piece of lace. I lined up the opening right in the center, because you can see the bodice underneath. So see how you can see where the holes are lined up in the center, but because I use glue, this is not going to shift when I start wrapping this, because what I do is I wrap it to the back. Right here where the curve is in the waistline, I did cut a couple slits, not all the way to the paper, but just enough to be able to maneuver this where I wanted. See, if I wanted to tuck it in, I wanted to be able to do that. See how defined the waist is? That's when I wanted to be able to do that. Now all I did after this dried, I just added some beacon glue, and I started turning the lace all the way around, coming here, just tucking everything in, so you wouldn't see anything but the front shape of the bodice. And I'm not going to do that because I don't want it to take a long time and my phone to cut off, but that's what I did with the bodice. So let's pretend that this is that part. Now, for the bottom here, all I did, the piece that was left over, I put the beacon glue, and you can use hot glue or you can use a needle and thread. And I just started pleating it and gluing it down. Like, literally all I did was that, until I got it as white as I didn't want it to be very white because I know that bodice is little. So I made sure that my pleats were small. And I just kept pleating it. Let's pretend this is glued. There was my pleat for my dress. And I'm not going to, like I said, I'm not going to do this because it would take too long. But that's all I did. You can use a needle to gather it, or you can just pleat it with hot glue and holding it in place, or I used the beacon and I didn't have any trouble with it. That's what I did with mine. On the back, down the center, because it's so little, I just added the black dimensional dots in the back. And we're going to take the backing off. Now, what I did do in the back as well, I added some beacon, and then I added the glue dots, because sometimes the glue dots tend to come off and you don't want your card to fall apart. So that's kind of like a double security that your stuff is not going to fall off. And I'm going to do the same here when I add it to the dress. I'm going to show you what I did. So there's that. So I'm going to take my beacon again, and I'm just going to add a little bit, like a little dab, just to secure it. Make sure it doesn't, just a little bit. Make sure it doesn't fall off my card. Because if the adhesive on the glue were to fail, the other glue would hold it in place. So I'm going to turn it sideways. And if you wanted to show a shadow, you could do it to the side like this, and you would have like an outside shadow, or you could do it right above. It's up to you. I'm just going to do mine right above where it's supposed to go. Look at how pretty that looks. Like, this would be a pretty card just by itself. You wouldn't have to do anything else to it. Look at how pretty that looks. So look, our card is almost done. For the butterflies. What I did for the butterflies is I took some beads and some stamens, Let me move this out of the way. And let me move the bodice out of the way. So for the butterflies, I took some flower stamens. Here are my stamens that I used on my flowers. And these are black, and these are really, really tiny. I had these from my cake decorating days because I would make the sugar, the realistic edible gum paste flowers. And I would put stamens in them. So I had these from then, and these are very, very tiny. They're white, and they're black tipped. So this is what I use for the antennas on the butterfly with the 6O glass beads. These glass beads came from Walmart. Any 6O is the size. Any 6O bead will work. They're not the standard size is an 11O. That would be too small. These are a little bit bigger, so they're a 6O. I hope you can see right there the 6 and the 0. It's actually a 6O. So that's what size of bead I use for the body and my butterflies. And all I did was I grabbed the stamen, I folded it in half, as you can see, and then I just threaded my beads through the bottom. And I did add glossy accents, or you can add the beacon so the beads stay in place and they don't fall off. On one I did 2, and on the other one I did 3, because there's 2 different sizes in the butterflies. So we have a bigger one and a smaller one. Now, after it had dried, I did take my antennas, or the stamens, and kind of broke them to open them up like that. So all we're going to do is add some glossy accents right here in the center of the bodies. And we're going to add our beads to that. Make sure you put plenty so your beads will adhere and they won't fall off. So I added glossy accents. And by the way, I love these little bottles for the glossy accents. I'm going to turn it sideways, guys. It works better for me. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to take the body and I'm going to place it up there. And there's the body to the butterflies. And here is the little one. How super cute is that? And we're going to wait for those to dry, and then we'll be able to fluff up the wings. For my flowers, I used a Crafter's Companion die. This one right here. I picked this up a while back at Tuesday Morning. Any flower die, rose die that you have will work. So this is the one that I used. And I'm actually going to link a die that I just ordered. I haven't gotten mine in, but I think would be beautiful with this, which you could do the butterflies and these little filigree where the butterfly is. So I'm going to link that one because it's going to be beautiful. You guys are going to love that. I can't wait for mine to come in. So anyway, all I did was cut the bigger one and a small one. And you have 2 different ones on here. So I'm going to go ahead and put it back in the package. That's what it looks like. Let me move it out of the way. And I cut 2. Here are the 2 together. And I pierced a hole down the middle. And in order to do the stamens, I like to get 6 of them. Here are my 6. And I kind of just line them up. Let me move this out of the way. And I kind of just line them up. And then I fold them in half. And I'm just going to fold them in half for my, see? Make sure they're lined up. And because I have this, these stamens are a little firm, so they're not too hard to work into the center of the flower. I'm going to see if I can do it. Let me make the hole a little bit bigger, because sometimes when you glue stuff, it kind of makes the hole smaller. So I just use my piercing tool to make the hole in the center. And then I went ahead, you know, I can add glossy accents to this right here. So these hopefully will stay in place. This is just like a double security as far as I'm concerned. Come on. I have to cover it so it won't clog up. So all I do is feed these little stamens through the hole in the center, and hopefully they'll all come through. It looks like most of them came through except for maybe one. You know when you're doing something on camera? There it goes. And I pull them down and I leave them sticking up a little bit because I do want them to stick up a little bit. And then I'm just going to turn it to the back and I'm going to trim where it's attached, like that little loop where I folded it. And I'm going to add some of this glue to the back so the stamens will stay in place. So the stamens will stay in place, and then I'm just going to open them up and glue them down to where I applied the glue. That's what the purpose of the glue is. And they'll dry up like that, and then they won't come out. So there's the flower right there. And I'm going to give it a little bit because I'm going to open them up. This one has been sitting a while, but after it's dry, you just kind of want to open these up. Just put your thumb or your finger in the center and just open them up. So let me move this back in place, make sure I don't have any glue on my table. And I'm going to probably add one right here. Again with the beacon glue. I love this glue. That way these stamens will not come off. How pretty is that, guys? Now, for the word, I didn't cut out friendship. But let's say you were making this into like a bridal, you're invited to a bridal shower. You could do forever and put some kind of scripture in there that pertains to a wedding, which it could be like, for this cause a man leaves his mother and father and clings to his wife, and they are one, they become one. You could do something like that, or you could do what God has joined together, let no man put away. You know, whatever you wanted to do, you could do here. So forever would work, bride would work, even if it was just your friend and you were going to a bridal shower, that would work, friend. So anything will work. But pretty much, guys, this is the card. And I'm sure you all have some kind of software in your computer where you can do the wording on your cards. I'll show you what I use. I use this, the print shop, because it's very user friendly. For me, I'm not real computer savvy, so this works for me. It's economical, so this is the one that I use on my computer, whether I'm printing it with my laser printer or my inkjet printer. For this one, I did my inkjet printer because I wanted it to be black. But if I was going to foil it, of course, I would have printed it out with my laser printer and then did the foil sheet over it and ran it through my ink machine. And whatever I want to put on there, it looks so pretty. But anyway, this is the one that I created, guys. I hope that this explains to you how I made it, how simple it is, and it is very elegant. I still need to put the other flower down here, but it hasn't dried, so I'm going to wait for it to dry. Oh, and the little scroll work that I had up here is from Hot Off the Press, but I'm not going to link that one. It's this one, the Flower Frenzy, and it's this one right here, but I'm not going to link this one. I'm not sure if it's available, but the new one I just picked up, that one is available, and it will work perfectly. I think it would probably look better than this one that I use because it looks like a little flight pattern. And then you can make like a hip rose with it as well. So I think that one will work better. But of course, I would have added that piece right in here. And I would move this word. If I needed to move it a little bit lower, I would be able to do it, depending on where the little scroll work would end up. But that's all that I did to create this card, guys. I hope that you like what I created, and I hope that you try it. Thanks for watching. I hope everyone is having a great day. And if the links are not up there as soon as I upload the video, I know that it's not up there, and I will put them on there. Just keep checking, and then I'll work as fast as I can Also, I wanted to say another thing. Whenever I do send out happy mail, to whoever it goes, I will let you know. And then I will ask, the post office to require a signature, because there has been some happy mail that I sent out that hasn't gotten to the recipient yet. And I feel awful about it. So when I send happy mail, I'm going to ask for a signature, to be, a requirement will be a signature. That way I know that if you weren't home, they didn't leave it. And we're living in a time where people go, by your house, see a package outside, and they don't give it a second thought. They pick it up. And I want to make sure that, if I create something for you, that you're actually the one that gets it. Thanks for watching. I hope everyone is having a great day, and God bless. Bye.